This is probably one of the most ironic videos I'm making. Because on one hand, I run a YouTube channel. I review EVs, I work with car dealerships, I advocate people to buy the newest EVs. And if you have watched one of those content on my other channel, Learns, right, you will know that I genuinely love cars. But today, I want to say something that may sound completely contradictory, completely opposite of what I say in that channel. Something that perhaps some of you might even label me as a hypocrite. So I'm just going to say this. Most people in Singapore should not be buying a car. Yes, don't buy a car. In fact, I'll go one step further to be more offensive. If you're earning below a certain income level, buying a car is probably one of the worst financial decisions you can make right now. And I know some of you will immediately disagree, right? You'll say, but I need a car for work. A car is necessary for my family. I cannot go back to squeezing in the train or the bus anymore. My car is giving me so much freedom. I mean, I'm getting queries like these on a daily basis. If they should be getting a new car versus something else. So I get it. I really do, because I'm a car guy myself, and having owned nearly 20 cars in my lifetime, right, I'm the last person who can bear to give up my rights. Trust me. But what I'm going to say in this video is not arguments based on emotions or feelings. I just want to share with you my thoughts by looking at numbers, at reality, and at trade-offs. Because the truth is, owning a car in Singapore is not just about liking cars anymore. To many of us, right, it's really about whether it actually makes sense for us. So let's set the context first. Now in Singapore, owning a car is a milestone in life, right? For many people, it represents progress. It represents a certain level of comfort in life. And most of all, it represents success. I mean, I remember one of my first cars in the 90s when I get to drive to the now closed down Prima Tower Revolving Restaurant, and also to the old Chinese gardens to view the Lantern Festival with my mom instead of taking public transport like everybody else. And honestly, there is genuine convenience. You don't have to wait for the bus or the train to arrive. You don't have to squeeze and stand up, in the whole journey, throughout the whole 1 hour journey, and you don't have to plan your routes around the MRT lines. And in those days, right, we were using that small bus and train booklet for those of you who are old enough to remember. And when I just had my kids straight out from the hospital after my wife is discharged, right, putting them into a car seat felt like I've given them something. And it is the same with my aging parents and in-laws now that they are immobile and are in a wheelchair. So with a car, right, we just get in and go. So I completely understand the appeal. But at the same time, right, we also must see the reality. Our car prices here are among the highest in the world, if not the highest. COE, it keeps creeping up month after month, sometimes with no clear logic of the spikes. And what used to feel like a stretch goal has now become something that for many people is financially very, very heavy. And the phenomenon I observe is, right, while young Gen Z people, they have little to no aspiration to own an expensive car, but Gen Xers and the older millennials, right, it seems like we haven't grappled with the reality that car prices have become so absurd today. I mean, a brand new car, it used to cost 60, 80K in the 2000s. And I remember I bought my first luxurious top-of-the-line Honda Odyssey EXV at $120,000 in 2004. And that was among the most expensive MPV then. Certainly the most expensive Honda in the showroom at that time. And used cars were even cheaper. My wife's first car was a 2.5-year-old Kia Picanto. And believe it or not, we paid only $28,000 for it in 2007. Not 28K down payment, but 28K for the whole car in full. And we didn't need to pay any installments anymore. But ever so slowly, COE began to creep up. And from the days when they were like 4 figures and there was a time when there was $1 COE, if you remember those days, right? To record-breaking 150K COE nowadays. And from when the ARF was a simple single percentage markup and PARF rebate was more than 100%, to now a complicated tier-based ARF or ARF formula that costs a BMW 750 to be double in price from the 2000s till today. And today's PARF rebate can even go down to 0%. So maybe because of over 25 years of a slow creep, right? We Gen Xers have been slowly conditioned to believe that we can still afford a car. I mean, I still remember my wife's CLA 180 costing us no more than $140,000 in 2017. And my GLC 250 Coupe in 2018, right, the most expensive car that I've bought in my life as a reward for my business success, right, it cost me just $250,000. And today, this price can only get us a BYD SUV. Okay, it's quite a lot of random car prices just now. So let me illustrate how unaffordable a car is today by quoting you real figures. I'll give you 2 examples, so this is going to be as comprehensive as possible. So one is a more practical option, something like a 5-year-old car, like a Honda Vezel, which would cost around $80,000 today. The other is a new car, like a new EV, maybe a $220,000 BYD C-Line 7. Now, most people, when they think about buying a car, right, they think about only one thing, which is monthly installment. They say, okay, this car is $2,000 a month. I think I can cut down on the weekly dining out or my daily Starbucks, so I can afford. Well, others even justify it with wanting to drive the car as a PHV on the weekends so as to cover part of the installment. But that's where the problem starts, because the installment is just one part of the story. So once you start adding everything else in, right, that's when the real number becomes real. So let's break it down with the 5-year-old Vezel and the brand new C-Lion 7. First, assuming that you can down pay 30 to 40%, then you will have your loan and your interest, which works out to be $1,064, okay, and $1,898 monthly. Now, for many, these figures seem palatable, but then you add insurance and road tax, which for EVs the figures are not that low. For insurance, right, for the Vezel, it works out to be $700, and for the C-Line 7, it is $1,310. Now, I doubt that these quotes are correct, but I'll just take this as examples from what I was given from a car insurance platform. For road tax, it is $682, and then $2,264 per year. All right. Then we add maintenance, which fortunately new cars they come with complimentary servicing nowadays. But the Vezel will need 6 monthly servicing. So monthly servicing or minor servicing would cost about $150, while the major ones will probably fit $300 to $400. Right, so we average it out. We just take it as $200 per servicing. All right, or that makes up to be about $400 per year. And then there are tires. Okay, so assuming that we change a set at every 40,000 kilometers, right? So that's one set of $700 of 16-inch tires per 2 years, okay, for the Honda, and then one set of $1,000 19-inch tires for the BYD. Now let's add petrol or charging for the EV, assuming that we drive 20,000 kilometers per year at today's fuel and electricity costs. So at today's ridiculous petrol price of $3.46 per liter for 95 fuel, and with the Vezel 17 click per liter FC, right, the estimated annual fuel bill will be around $3,052. And this is after a 25% fuel discount. And for the Sea Lion 7, right, at 5 km per kilowatt hour of efficiency and 72 cents per kilowatt hour of cost for charging, right? So 20,000 kilometers per year would mean 2,880 per year. And then there's parking, specifically season parking at home, parking at work, and all the random places that you go. So let's put in an arbitrary $400 per month. And then for those who drive frequently to work during peak hours, right, there's ERP, which we estimate about $5 a day, or like $100 a month. And slowly, right, all these things start stacking up. So for an older car, like our 5-year-old Vezel, you might be looking at somewhere around maybe $2,000 monthly, all in, and depending on your usage, of course. And for a new EV like the Sea Lion 7, you can easily be crossing 3,000 a month. 3K a month for a car. If you don't think this is luxury, then what is luxury to you? I mean, this is just a normal ownership figures. Lucky the Vezel is a reliable vehicle. For those who bought a 5-year-old BMW or Audi, and especially those who don't have the money but still want to portray that they are successful by going for a COE, Porsche or Maserati, good luck to their repair bills. I know, because I used to drive a 7-year-old BMW 730, which is supposedly to be more reliable than the 3 Series already, but the hospital bills are a few hundred here per month for oil leaks and then seal replacements, and then sometimes a few $1,000 there because a chain and electric parking brake module, an actuator needs to be replaced. So when you look at those numbers properly, right, it's very different from what people initially think. It's not just the installment anymore. It's everything also costs money for the car, and you need to sustain this every single month for years. And generally, right, the older the car, the more unexpected issues you will have. And please don't assume that all Toyotas and Hondas will be exempt from issues, because all cars will break down at some point, regardless the brand and model. It's just how unlucky you are. So actually, at this point, if all these are already surprising you a bit, can you take a moment to like this video and drop a comment? Okay? And subscribe to this channel if you think that such hard truths from me are worth your click. Because honestly, I think a lot of these conversations, people don't really talk about them openly. Done? Thank you so much. So now, here's where it gets a little bit more serious, because some people might say, it's only 3K a month, what? No, it's only 30% of my family income, so it is manageable. No? Well, let's see. First, we must define what is a typical family income, because to some people like me, right, 3K a month might be too much for a car. But it seems there are many rich people in Singapore too, because the stats is that our median family income is 12,446. 12K, you know, I mean, really. I honestly know more people who are struggling like me. And this is median, by the way, not average, meaning that half of the families in Singapore are earning more than 12K. So fine, let's use this figure. Now, if a family is making 12,000 per month, which now that I'm thinking about it, right, isn't really a lot. So after CPF, they are left with 9,600 per month. And assuming that their flat installment is fully paid through CPF, right, then they have essentially 9,600 a month of disposable income. Minus away, let's say a lowish 2K for food and daily essentials for the family, right? Or 4 especially, and minus away 1K for utilities, bills, and credit cards, and then $3,000 for 2 kids for tuition and childcare, and $1,000 for insurance and some indulgences. Hey, wait, there is only $2,600 left, and with a new car at $3,000 monthly, no wonder need to do Grab to supplement the car expenses. So the question becomes very simple. Can you really afford it? Or are you just trying to afford it? Because there's a big difference. Affording a car means it shouldn't stress your finances in other areas. Trying to afford one means you're constantly adjusting other parts of your life just to sustain that toy you bought that's parked downstairs 90% of the time. Yes, most of us use the car for like 2 hours a day. In fact, right, I've seen my neighbor's car parked at the same lot every single time I go to take my car, and even when I'm back from work, my family meals or my errands. So how much do you need to make before you can consider owning a car here? Well, assuming for a family of 4, I reckon you need to minimally make 14K gross to comfortably own a car, be it a 5-year-old Vezel or new Sea Lion 7. And this is assuming that you have savings to pay for the $88,000 of down payment for the new BYD, and you have no student loan, no reno loan, no wedding loan, and so on. Oh, and if you are not using cash to also supplement your monthly housing installment, which means you probably cannot be staying in a private condo, especially a new one. So if so, you probably need to be making 18,000 to 20,000 monthly in your household to afford such luxuries. Yes, I hear you. I do have a car. In fact, my wife and I, we have 2, but both of them were gotten in 2024 after we have traded in our 2 Mercedes from 2017 and 2018. If not, today I also struggle to buy a new car when the cheapest EV can cost $160,000. So now, for those who are struggling, including me, when can we ever buy our first car or a replacement car? Now the answer can be a frightening never if COE continues to defy gravity. And with the irresponsible PHV companies and aggressive dealerships bidding COE at all costs, right? It could be another year or two before COE recedes to hopefully below 80,000 levels. Well, it's still expensive, but I think there's room to breathe. But honestly, even if we cannot afford to buy a car over the next 2 years or ever, I honestly think we stay in a country with one of the best public transport systems. And having the fortune to travel to many cities in Asia, Australia, Europe and the States before, right? I must say that our MRT and bus system is really clean, really safe, it's reliable, and most importantly, it's really cheap. A typical trip might cost us what, $1-2? And even if you take it every single day, right, your monthly transport cost is probably under $150. Now, ask any tourists from the US or Australia or Europe, right, or many of our Asian neighbors even, they will tell you that they cannot figure out how our trains and buses can be so affordable and efficient. Yes, I think peak hour can be a bit uncomfortable. You might have to stand, it might be crowded, but we are nowhere near cities in Japan or Taiwan where people are literally being shoved into the trains. And yes, the train, maybe breaks down sometimes, but when I was in Paris for work for 6 weeks, right, I encountered 6 breakdowns in that time. So honestly, for what we are paying, it's actually very hard to beat. And then we have car sharing also. And this is something that is becoming more and more relevant. Because in the past, right, if I need to rent a car, I need to go book one through a website, go to an airport or some major hotel, right? Fill in a dozen forms, and then take the car key and then look for the car in a sea of other cars in the car park and pay something like $80 to $120 a day for a car, And I still had to return the car with 3/4 full tank or I'll be penalized. But nowadays, if we need a car for a few hours or even just for a point A to point B trip, right, we can just book the car on the phone. And instead of paying like a fixed $2,000 to $3,000 every month, right, we only need to pay when we actually use the car. And I think this alone changes the equation completely. And one more thing, there's Grab for taxis, right? Now I know every time there is a surge pricing comes in, right, people will complain that it is so expensive. And yes, sometimes I think it is. But if you really look at it objectively, right, a typical ride might be $15, $20, maybe $25. And airport, maybe it's $30 or $40. Now compare that with other major cities like London or Zurich or Tokyo, we are actually not that expensive. And more importantly, right, compared to owning a car, even if you spend $60 a day on Grab for work every single day, it's not even close to what you are paying for your 5-year-old vessel. So when we put everything together, well, this is my personal take. I don't think cars are bad. Far from it. I love my cars, especially EVs. And I don't think people should never buy cars. Even with zero car population growth, there will be still 600,000 cars plying the roads daily, and one of them is yours or could be yours. But I do think some people are buying cars for the wrong reasons. Now, to me, a car should be something that or rather, a car should not be something that you try to afford, like creating financial pressure for you. The car needs to work for you, and you should never need to work for the car. Okay? And when you are financially comfortable, when you are already, sorted out your savings, your installment, your housing, right? Then yes, go ahead, enjoy it. And that's where, my other channel comes in. If you're going to buy a car, right, then make smarter choices, consider EVs, and save some more costs. But before all that, right, you need to ask yourself this question first. Do I really, really need a car right now? Or am I buying a car to impress someone else? So I'm curious, after hearing all this, right, do you still think that owning a car in Singapore is worth it? What do you think is a realistic income level to comfortably own one? Or are you okay with sticking with public transport, Grab or car sharing? Let me know in the comments. I read them all. And remember, if you enjoy these kind of honest, slightly uncomfortable conversations, right? Just subscribe to the channel, okay? I'll be sharing more of these as we go along.